Mansukhani. I am a teacher of Patanjali Yoga Sutras. I am speaking to you from Kolkata. Today, dear friends, we are going to see the definition of yoga. What is yoga? People normally consider asanas to be yoga. People normally consider pranayama to be yoga. People normally consider meditation to be yoga. But these are just parts of what the yogic practice is. This is not actually yoga. It's a big myth that asana is yoga. It's a big myth that pranayama is yoga. It's a big myth that meditation is yoga. It is like saying that the alphabet A is the English language. It is like saying the alphabet B is the English language. It is like saying alphabet C is the English language. No, it is just a small part of it. Yes, it is a part of it. So, dear friends, let us look at what is yoga. Yoga, as per Patanjali Yoga Sutras, is a very beautifully defined concept. He says in the second sutra, Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha. What it means? It means yoga has to do with the chitta, with the mind. Yoga has to do with the vritti. Vritti is the fluctuation in the state of the mind. And nirodha is to put a stop to these fluctuations. So, my dear friend, this is the real, true definition of yoga. By whom? By Maharishi Patanjali, who created the yoga darshan, the yoga philosophy. He documented the whole procedure of what is yoga way back about 2,400 years ago. And that time, he did a fantastic job. He did an unbelievable job. And it is thanks to him that we will find our society getting saved. We will find our society coming out of the mess it has landed itself in. Our society will be able to handle this tremendous, huge, high-speed change happening all around us, in all means of life, in all spheres of life. So, my dear friends, Maharishi Patanjali compiled yogic knowledge from as early as the Rig Veda, the other Vedas, the Upanishads, the Mahabharata, the Sankhya Darshan, and he collected all of it and presented it in the form of 196 sutras. A sutra is a very short, concise, pithy, powerful statement. It consists of very few words, and each word is beautifully, selectively chosen. So here we see Patanjali defining yoga in simple 4 words. And in these 4 words, you do not find the word asana. In these 4 words, you do not find the word pranayama. In these 4 words, you do not find the word dhyana, meditation. In these 4 words, you do not find the word samadhi. And in these 4 words, you do not find words like kundalini. You do not find words like ashtanga. You do not find any so-called popular forms of yoga out there flooding the world, being taught to the people across more than 100 countries. And many, many people are using the practice, the tools of yoga under various names. But is that yoga? Is that true, authentic yoga? My dear friends, let me tell you, it is not. True, authentic yoga is a very deep, intellectual, metaphysical concept. And if you understand that concept, if you experience that concept, then you probably reach a stage where no asana is required, where no pranayama is required, where no meditation is required, where no samadhi is required. Samadhi is one of the ways of reaching yoga. Samadhi is not the only way. Meditation is not the only way. Concentration is not the only way. In fact, you will be stunned and shocked if I tell you concentration, meditation, and samadhi are higher forms of yoga. So high that they are used by those practitioners, those yoga sadhaks who want to achieve siddhis. Siddhis are powers which are mystical powers. Siddhis are powers which are supernatural powers. Now, my dear friends, these supernatural powers, these mystic powers, these siddhis are achieved through higher form of yoga, which constitutes concentration, meditation, and samadhi. Samadhi has many states. Samadhi is not a single state. And in samadhi, what you do is, step by step, gradually, you drop the mind. The mind is made to disappear intentionally as a matter of practice. And then you reach the highest form of the yoga practice. It is the yoga practice. It is not yoga. Yoga is simply defined, beautifully defined, deeply defined by Maharishi Patanjali. He says, yoga, chitta, vritti, nirodha. Our mind, if you look at our mind, how does the mind work? The mind is a storehouse of data. And where does this data come from? This data comes from outside, through our 5 doors, 5 sense organs. This data, which flows in continuously through these 5 sense organs, come to the mind. If the mind is busy elsewhere, if the mind is in the past, if the mind is in the future, then there is no way the mind can notice this data coming in. There is no way the mind can experience the data coming in. There is no way the mind can process this data coming in. But if the mind is present in the present, that is when the registry takes place. That is where the incoming data is noticed, experienced, turned into a memory cell. And then it goes deep down in the mind as a seed. As a seed of what? This seed creates a fluctuation in the mind, a change in the mind. When this data is not being noticed, when this incoming data is not being stored, the mind remains in its earlier state. There is no fluctuation in the mind. There is no change in the mind. There is no modification in the mind. There is no ripple in the mind. Mind is calm and steady. Yes, my dear friends, this data which is flowing in from the 5 sense organs continuously, if it is not being experienced, the mind does not change. The state of the mind remains the same. And then the mind is said to be in yoga. A calm mind, a composed mind, a silent mind, a still mind is said to be a mind in yoga. But a mind which is registering a change, which is undergoing fluctuations, modifications, ripples, is not a calm mind, is not a stable mind, is not a still mind, is not a silent mind, and is a weak mind, is a mind which is performing at a lower level of ability. Why is that so? but it's very simple. You see, the mind is connected to the sense organs are connected to the world outside. And the world outside is a world of constant change. Every moment, every second, every minute, the world outside is experiencing change, going through change, rapid change. This change is interpreted where it comes through the sense organs into the mind. So the mind is constantly experiencing a barrage of changing data. And if the mind has developed a sense of ability, a mind has developed a sense of immunity from the rapid barrage of fluctuations coming from the world outside, coming from the universe outside, coming from the environment outside, it remains calm, stable, composed, and silent and peaceful. But if the mind dances like a monkey with the fluctuations of the creation outside, with the changes in the universe outside, with the modifications in the world outside, these modifications which are happening outside come inside to the senses. This fluctuating, modifying, rapidly changing data flows in into my system, flows into our body, flows into our mental system. And there it creates unrest. There it creates a disturbance. There it creates sorrow. There it creates pain. And there it may also create pleasure. And there it may also create happiness. And there it may create many, many more things. Because the world outside is changing in many, many ways. And the mind, through the senses, is picking it up and storing it, registering it. So the mind also goes through similar changes, rapid changes. And change is the cause of all sorrow. If you look at business growth, they say growth happens when you move out of your comfort zone into your discomfort zone. So yes, change is discomfort. And it is only the human being, surprisingly, shockingly, and amusingly also, who undergoes growth with pain, who undergoes change with pain. Look at the world outside, look at nature, look at the thousands of trees around you, look at the thousands of birds around you, look at the thousands of animals in the animal kingdom, look at the various fish in the oceans and the seas and the rivers and the lakes. Do they grow with pain? Do they have stress? Do they have mental health issues? Do they have anxiety issues? No. Why? Because the outer changes are not affecting the inner state of the mind. They are virtually immune to it. But mankind is affected by these fluctuating changes. And these fluctuating changes are the cause of all the pain you can ever think of. So my dear friends, here what happens. Patanjali says, stop the fluctuation of the mind and you will find that all pain disappears. You will find a sense of absolute calmness. You will experience infiniteness in you and around you. The mental power to handle knowledge will become infinite. The mental capacity to acquire power and hold on to power will also increase to the infinite level. So yoga is a state of mind where there is no change. And if I can program my mind, create a habit in my mind that whatever be the change which is happening, coming from outside, I make my mind immune to that change. I develop my mental system in such a way that the outer fluctuation does not impact my inner state of the mind. Then I will find something very interesting. I will find I am no longer affected by sorrows of this world. I will find I am no longer affected by the pleasures of this world. I am above pleasure and pain. I am above all forms of sorrow. And that actually is the prime goal of yoga, to relieve mankind from pain and sorrow. And that is the main goal, the main objective of Sankhya Darshan. Sankhya Darshan is the philosophy on which the yogic practice is based. Sankhya Darshan is that ancient knowledge, that first Indian philosophy by Kapila Muni, which helps us to understand the whole construction of this creation, that helps us to understand what causes change and what is the effect of that change and what is the overall impact of cause and effect on our existence. So with that knowledge, that all changes will create pain, all fluctuations will create pain, all modifications of the mind will create pain, all changes in the state of the mind will create pain. So Patanjali says, Nirodha, bring it to a halt, stop it, curtail it, reduce it, subdue it, have no change. And the moment you are able to control the monkey mind, which is constantly jumping around, if you look at it, your mind is at 100 places, probably at the same time. Your mind is busy occupied with the world. It is looking around the cars passing on the street. It is looking around the buildings out there. It is constantly thinking about itself, future, the job, the stress of the job, the shortage of the money, the house he needs to build, the education he needs, his family, the health of his mother, the newborn baby which is going to come, and things like that. So a human being is so engrossed in the world outside, in 100 thoughts. And the world outside is not constant. The world outside is not in one state of physicality. The world outside is constantly changing. The world outside is going through a flux. The world outside is temporary. The world outside is momentary at times. It keeps on shifting moment to moment. So all these changes, and with so many thoughts happening together, there is a mess in the mind. The mind probably can end up in anxiety, in depression, in doubt, in lack of confidence, in over-attachment, in compulsive behavior, and many, many issues. There can be things like depression, suicidal tendencies. There can be things like breathing issues. There can be nervous problems. There can be 101 things which can happen in the mind. Because if the mind is so busy in looking at 100 things in the world outside, and all 100 things in the world outside are constantly, every moment to moment changing, what will happen to that mind? What will happen to your mind if your mind is thinking of 100 things, and all those 100 things, you have no control over it? The environment is controlling, your boss is controlling, the government is controlling, the business world is controlling, your family is controlling, your neighbor is controlling. So what are you controlling? So only thing which Patanjali says you need to control to understand what is yoga is the mind. The mind is the root cause. The mind is the root perception instrument. The mind is the root of all that is happening in your life. The mind works on your body. The mind goes to the world outside. The mind comes back to the world inside. The mind goes further in to the spirit inside. The mind can look at 100 objects. The mind can look at 90 objects. The mind can look at one object. The mind can look at no object. So your happiness or pain, your sorrow or whatever you're facing in your life is originating and coming out of nothing but the mind. So your practice is a practice where you control the fluctuation of the mind. You do a practice whereby you stop the existence of the conscious mind. There is a system, there is a way, there is a practice, there is a process. Step by step, you move ahead and you virtually kill the mind. You develop the ability to switch on and switch off your mind as you need it. It is like switching off or on the AC in your room. It is like switching on or switching off your car. That is the amount of control you must have on your mind. The mind must be your servant. But what happens sadly, there are 700, 800 crore people on this planet. And the saddest part is, their minds are controlling them. The mind is dancing like a monkey. The mind is carrying a razor in its hand and cutting here and cutting there, drawing blood, creating pain, creating sorrow, creating frustration, creating anxiety, creating depression. So who is responsible for that? You are, because it is your mind. And you're not able to keep it under control. So it is causing pain to you. It is causing pain to the world outside. So Patanjali says, Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha. Simply control the fluctuation, the changes in the mind. And when you do that, you reach the ultimate state of existence. You reach the original state of existence. You reach the infinite in you. You reach where you have never been before. And once when you reach that domain, you become omnipotent also. You become omniscient also. You become omnipresent also. These might sound like fantastic words to you, omnipotency, omnisciency, but they are not. Because you have never experienced something like having a mind which is not disturbing you, like having a mind which is not fluctuating. So you really do not know what it is all about. See, a person who has never been inside a train, how can he know about the experience of a train? See, a person who has never had sex, how can he know about sex? So a person who has never ridden a cycle, how can he know about what it is like to ride a cycle? So mind control is an experience. Mind control is learnable. Mind control is something which all of us can do. But nobody taught us that mind can be controlled. Nobody taught us. Nobody taught you how to think. You just think of any school teacher, any school principal, any college professor, any academician, any coach who has actually taught you in your young age how to think, how to control the process of the mind. Nobody has done it. That is why society is in a mess. And the best part is, people in India, thousands of years back, knew this, that it is the mind which is the source of all that can go right and infinite in my life. And mind is the source of all that can go wrong in my life. So all that one needs to do as a primary goal of life is not to learn how to drive a car, is not to learn how to brush your teeth, is not to learn how to operate a computer or a mobile phone. It is to learn how to control your mind. The most important skill in the world needed for human excellence, for human peak performance, for human supernatural performance is not taught to human beings. We are all suffering because of this. The cause of the suffering is the mind. And we do not know how to control the mind. That is why we are leading painful, sorrowful existences. Why is mankind facing such a situation today? Because of COVID. Because there is a change which is happening in the world outside in various ways. And it is impacting us. It is impacting our minds because I have no control over our mind. So it leads to depression. It leads to sadness. It leads to conflict in the family. It leads to stress. But if I had learned how to manage the mind, we teach material management to people. We teach inventory management. We teach various kinds of management, financial management, and God knows what all management. There's a huge management industry out there, huge management sciences out there. huge number of managers out there, big industry. Has anybody opened an institute for mind management, thinking management, concentration management? No. Humanity has missed the most simple, the most important skill, that is to think correctly and to be able to stop thinking when needed. Humanity does not know today how to control the mind, and it is your mind. You cannot control your own mind. What can be more shameful than that? You are a slave to your mind. Your mind makes you run around all during the day and night, creating mess, havoc, pleasure, and various changes in your life. It is your mind which is driving you crazy. It is your mind which is making you run after mirages out there. It is your mind which is throwing up dreams which are impossible to achieve. Because you do not know the technique of mind management, because you do not know how to think, because you have never bothered to know how to think. You think yoga is to do certain asanas. You think yoga is to do certain breathing in a particular way. You think yoga is to close your eyes and meditate. I guarantee you, not even 1% people on this planet actually know how to meditate. What is meditation? Meditation means to bring the mind to one point. And is it easy? It is not at all easy. How much years of practice is required to bring the mind to one point? It may take 20 years. But how much practice it needs to control the mind? Not much. Not much. There are 3 simple steps which Patanjali says anybody can do, which does not involve asana, pranayam, concentration, meditation, and samadhi. That he calls as Kriya Yoga. But nobody told you what is Patanjali's Kriya Yoga. Nobody told you. And neither did you find out. Patanjali Yoga Sutras is the Bible of yoga. Patanjali's Yoga Sutras is the most ancient and most powerful model, code of conduct of the mind, the sciences of the mind, the operation of the mind. It is a mind operational manual. But we are never taught about it. So the endeavor of our series is to bring to you the truth in a probably a hard-hitting way at times, so that you catch your mind by the ears and ask him to behave. You take ownership of the mind. You take possession of your mind. The mind is here to serve you, and you are not here to serve the mind. So the definition of yoga is to control the mind. That's all. Yoga is to control the mind. But apart from controlling the mind, you do everything under the sun by the name of yoga. You wear fancy clothes and do hot exercises, cold exercises, God knows what all. I was checking up on a Google search engine. I saw there are more than 100 categories of yoga. What a farce is out there. What are we doing? Whom are we fooling? And what for? What is the motive behind fooling people? Why can't we present the authentic knowledge to the people of this world? Why can't we serve the world? Why can't we tell them what is the simplest and the easiest way to control the mind? It is yoga. Yoga is controlling the mind, as simple as that. Very, very simple it is. And yoga is also defined as Yoga Atha Anushasanam. That is the first sutra. So what does it mean? It means yoga. Atha is now Anushasana. It's a discipline. So yoga is a discipline. We practice in the now. Why in the now? Because all the fluctuations in the mind have a root. The root of sorrow is in the memory. When your mind moves in the future, that creates fluctuation. When your mind moves to the past, it creates a fluctuation, a change in the mind. But when the mind is in the now, when the mind is in the moment, it does not create any change. Whatever is flowing in through the sense organs flows in. And if you are not noticing it, if you are not getting affected by it, if you are not criticizing it, if you are not experiencing it, if you are not judging it, if you are merely witnessing the knowledge, the data which our sense organs are bringing in, and without engaging with that data, without appraising that data, without analyzing that data, we are allowing it to flow out. So that is where the mind does not change its state. The mind remains at peace. The mind remains in calm. The mind experiences the highest state of existence possible. And in that existence state, which is the highest possible, because the mind is not fluctuating, mind is calm, you experience the highest power you can experience. You experience the highest flow of knowledge, because the mind is not recording, mind is not restricting, mind is not judging, mind is not commenting. So automatically whatever knowledge is coming in beautifully. And it is just not sensory knowledge which is coming to the sense organs. It even involves intuition, insight, sixth sense, all these open up. When your mind is neat, clean, pure, then it operates at a level of knowledge which is above worldly knowledge. It operates at a level of knowledge which it picks up from higher dimensions. It goes beyond the space and time dimension. It picks up knowledge beyond the space and time dimensions. And that knowledge is actually a knowledge beyond the knowledge from nature, beyond the knowledge from the physical world, beyond the knowledge coming in through the sense organs. This knowledge is supernatural knowledge. This knowledge is mystic knowledge. And knowledge is power. So when you get knowledge which other people in the world do not have, it gives you power. It gives you siddhis. And then you start seeing what nobody has seen before. You start experiencing what nobody has experienced before. And that is the beauty of the whole game. That is yoga. Yoga is to reach the highest level of existence. Yoga means to go back to your roots of absolute stability, absolute balance, absolute calmness. If you remember, the Western scientists talk of the Big Bang. If there was such a Big Bang, is that bang stopped today? No, the bang is still on. It is resonating. The whole universe is expanding because the bang is still on. And that is what has created a state of disbalance. The Big Bang. The Big Bang will always create disbalance, disharmony. It has disbalanced our bodies. It has disbalanced our mind. It has disbalanced our soul. So how to get it back in balance? First thing is to control your mind. When you start controlling your mind, then you find balance. And the best part is when the mind is absolutely under control, when there is no movement at all, when the mind is at rest, absolute rest, as good as if the mind is dead, that is the highest form of concentration. That is the highest form of meditation. That state is called Samadhi. Nirbhij Samadhi. Nir means no, Bij means the mind. Samadhi is Sama and Adi. Sama means balance. Adi means from ancient times. So when you stop the fluctuations of the mind, when the mind is put to rest, that is the time when you reach a state of absolute balance, primordial balance, ancient balance, anadi balance. And when you reach that state, you become the absolute. You experience infiniteness in terms of knowledge, in terms of power, in terms of presence. When you are absolutely silent, you are present in the universe. But when you are noisy inside, you are an individual, having a limited individual existence. So you become a limited entity. And when you become a limited entity, you only experience limited power. You only experience limited knowledge. You are only open to sensory knowledge, knowledge of the world, which other people are sort of vomiting it out and you are taking it in. You are not creating or accessing new knowledge. What you think is new knowledge is just cut paste of knowledge. So, my dear friends, when you reach that state of balance of the mind, when you stop the fluctuations of the mind, when the vrittis become nirodha, when the chitta becomes silent, then does the chitta exist? The day all the recordings in the chitta are done away with, the chitta has no functionality. It disappears. That is also the time when yoga occurs, the final state of absoluteness occurs. That is the time when you reach the highest. And is it easy to achieve? Yes, it is very easy to achieve. And you can try it out. If you're absorbed in some game, in some work, and you're not aware of the time, that means you're out of the space and time domain. That is one of the states where you experience the presence of higher knowledge, higher power, higher existence. So, my dear friends, yoga is simply putting the mind to rest. It is not a physical exercise. It is not a breathing exercise. It is not a mental exercise. Just learning to put your mind to rest. Just practicing the mind at rest. Just knowing mind at rest is the ultimate state. Just by knowing, just by reflecting over this knowledge, you reach that state. So, my dear friends, thank you so much for being with us today, listening to me speaking about the definition of yoga. It is about just putting the mind to rest, number one, and being in the moment, number two. So when you are in the moment and when the mind is at rest, you are at the highest state of peak performance possible. You are in the highest state of excellence possible. You start acquiring powers and knowledge beyond the common people, and they start respecting you, they start valuing you, and you start growing up in the ladder of a society in terms of achievements, in terms of name, fame, success, wealth. So that is the key, the mind. So work on the mind, learn about the mind, practice about the mind, forget the body. The body, Hindus burn it, and the body, the Muslims and the Christians bury it in the grave so that it can rot. Okay, friends, the body is meant to be burnt, the body is meant for rotting. So don't give too much of importance to the body. Okay, don't give too much of importance to the asanas. Don't give too much of importance to the breathing, pranayama. Just go to the core, mind. And from the mind, you reach the soul. And when you reach the state of the soul, which is the same, soul means no mind, actually. When you reduce your mind to such an extent that there is no mind, then you are in the state of the soul. Then you are in the state of the Purusha. Then you are in the state of the Atma. Atma is not something physical. Atma is not something mystical. Reaching a state of no mind, you are in the Atma state. Reaching a state of no mind, you are in the soul state. Reaching a state of no mind, you are in the Purusha state. When you have no mind, you have decimated Prakriti, nature. You are free from her. And Prakriti will do what you want it to do. Prakriti will stop creating obstructions on your path. Nature will submit itself to you the moment you eliminate the mind from you. It is the mind which is the critical point, critical factor of human existence. A mind can make you, a mind can break you. But if you are free of the mind, there is no making, there is no breaking. You become free of the fluctuations of the mind. You become free from the vagaries of nature, the ups and downs of nature, the ups and downs of pain and sorrow and pleasure. You are free. You are liberated. You are mukta. You are in moksha. You achieve kevalya. So just by putting the mind under control, magical things happen, my dear friends. Just follow my advice. Just follow the advice of Maharishi Patanjali and bring about drastic, unbelievable, absolute changes in yourself. Experience bliss in your life on earth. And once you experience that bliss, practicing putting the mind to rest, teach it to your family, spread the message to your society, spread the message to your countrymen, and let the whole world know. We all just need to put the mind to rest. That's all. And once we develop that ability, there might be times when you have to activate the mind to do that. The mind is an instrument to serve you. But most of us, huge number of us, turn out to be slaves of the mind. So when you break free from the mind, that is freedom. Freedom is not the ability to express yourself. Freedom is not to practice the religion you want. Freedom is not doing whatever you want. Freedom is freedom from the mind. That is true freedom. All other freedoms are illusionary freedoms. They will not take you anywhere. But freedom from the mind is absolute freedom. It is the highest freedom. And that is the freedom which yoga is talking about. That is the freedom which Maharishi Patanjali is talking about. Asanas cannot give you that freedom. Pranayam cannot give you that freedom. Meditation alone cannot give you that freedom. Meditation needs tremendous amount of practice. Prior practice, preparation to sit on the seat of meditation. Meditation is not something you can just sit and start. It is a myth, and it leads to severe mental health issues. My advice to you would be, understand the process, follow the process. It's the master of yoga, Maharishi Patanjali has suggested, and then experience bliss, experience nirvana, moksha, liberation in this life only on this planet. Let us come together and learn authentic yoga, and let us take our lives ahead, and let us leave a beautiful, happy planet for our children and the coming generations. With these words, thank you for being here, listening to me, being patient enough. I hope uh, I've been able to communicate what I felt is very, very important. Important for you, important for me, important for our society, important for our world. And once when we are able to control the mind, put the mind to rest, we can think of Satyuga. Once the world moves into a stage where each family has at least somebody who is trained in controlling the mind, who is able to put the mind to rest, then he will find automatically the whole family around him has the mind at rest. It is automatic. The mind spreads its qualities. So with these words, my dear friends, thank you so much for being here. God bless you. Hope to see you again. We have started this series of 50 lectures on Patanjali Yoga Sutras and Sankhya by Kapila Muni from today. And we will be covering all these in English. The time remains the same, 7 p.m. every day. You're welcome to join us on this journey and explore the unexplored so far. Discover what you never thought before was possible. This is the most interesting journey you can ever take in your life. Thank you again. Put your comments in the comments column. If you have any questions, kindly put your questions there. We will answer all your questions as far as possible. Be in touch. God bless you. Take care. Hari Om.